for our interview session. So yeah, what to expect during the interviews, how to prepare for interviews, what we should be doing following an interview that we've had as well. So it's not like we go for interviews and that's it, all done and dusted, and then we just sit down and expect the response. Yeah, fair, all well and good, yeah, but then, sometimes there are steps that we can take after interviews that would also help in, putting us in good light as well. So I know that we've done this session. I know that I've actually facilitated this session twice, the last 2 Thursdays. And I know that last week, Thursday, as we were rounding up, someone asked specific question around STAR technique of answering interview questions. And I did say that we will touch on that today, but at the same time, I want people to also go away and then come back and let's discuss what your findings are around the STAR technique of answering interview questions. So we will start off first by asking if anyone has any questions as well, because again, we didn't have enough time to ask questions last week, Thursday. So I did say again, listen to the recording, go back to your notes if you are taking any notes, and then come back today. If you have any questions from previous sessions, please feel free. Let's take the first few minutes to see if anyone has any questions that you want to ask around your career development, around interviews, how to prep for interviews and stuff like that. And then we will then move on to talking about the STAR technique of answering questions. So does anyone have any questions from the previous sessions that we've had? Just gonna see if we have any hands up. Okay, doesn't look like we have any hands up. All right, cool. I appreciate that there are other people on other calls right now. And I want to believe that some of us on this call or all of us on this call were part of the previous session as well. And I just want to encourage us. We're all on this platform for a reason, right? And it's for us to not only learn what we're learning now and do what we're doing now, but also for us to be able to use all of the knowledge that we're getting right now to go out there and start getting those jobs that are out there, because those jobs are out there. And I did say last week, quite a lot of times I mentioned preparation. Some of us might believe that, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready for interviews yet. I'm not ready to start applying yet. But then the truth is that we will never be ready if we keep saying that. There is no time when you would say you're 100% ready if you don't start taking the step. And that step starts from us preparing towards achieving that goal. So please, if you haven't listened back to the recordings of the previous sessions, I would honestly say that listen back to those sessions, come back with questions. You'll have this platform for how many more weeks? 3 months is just going to run past very quickly like that. So please make good use of the platform whilst you're still on the platform. To be honest with you, aside from how many are we on this call, I don't know how many we have on the platform in general, but there are hundreds of people out there in the same situation as we have right now, looking for the same jobs that we are looking to get into. Scrum Mastering, project management, software engineers, software testers, data analysts, business analysts. There are hundreds of people, and there are people with years of experience that are also in the market looking for these jobs. So we need to make sure that we find a way where we put ourselves in a position where we're able to also go into the market and fight for those roles with these other people in the market as well. And apart from experienced people, there are also people like us that are only just starting within this industry, within this space, the IT space, that are also doing trainings and internships and stuff, that are also applying for roles and they're getting the jobs. And there are lots of testimonies on this platform. So it doesn't matter how much years of experience you have. I can tell you categorically that as long as you are prepared and you put in the work, and part of your preparation is asking questions. I always say to people, one disservice that you can do to yourself on this platform is not to ask questions. Trust me, I'm sure when the program has ended and you've moved on from the platform, for those that might, move on from the platform, for those that would stay on, for the advance and all of that. But you will come to realize that, okay, she mentioned it. She's, they kept saying it, ask questions, ask questions. Yeah. So please, if there are no questions, that's fine. With regards to the STAR technique, I know a few people just joined as well. So I was just asking if anybody has any questions based on the last couple of weeks that we've been going through interview preps and career development. For those that just joined the call, if anyone has any questions for us to answer. Okay, if there are none, with regards to the STAR technique of answering questions, did anyone do any research on that? It's one thing for us to come on the platform and run you through things. It's another thing for you to actually do some research on your own, because sometimes what you go away to learn, to research on, it sticks. And then what we now tell you would just be like added knowledge to that. So did anyone go away and do any research on STAR technique of answering interview questions? We went through different interview questions, different scenarios last week that you could respond to using the STAR technique. So we went through the situational based interview questions, we went through behavioral, we went through competencies. I think we went through about 4 or 5 different ones. Mohammed, you were about to say something?
Yeah, from the start, I remember, I think it was like situation, task, and action and results.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. So,
and
yeah.
For me, obviously me, you and Victoria done a call the other day, and from how I said to you the other day as well was, it's like, if they ask you a question in the interview, for example, have you dealt with team conflict? So what I would just program in my mind is, I would just remember like a time at Blue Sky, and then I've had, like, for example, if I had an issue like that recently within my team and how I solved it. So you would say, I would personally just go back to that scenario, just picture that day, exactly what happened, but obviously not going into too much detail, and say, yeah, I've had team conflict, and then what I've done was I've had one-to-one with some of the members. Then we had a team meeting where we had effective communication with respect, and then we've got to agree on the same page. And I just reminded the team they were all on the same page, and that our goal is to achieve our goal, basically.
Okay, well done, Mohammed. I'm glad that you did only take something off from the last call, but also from the call that we had, I had with yourself and Victoria as well. So well done for that. So yeah, so absolutely. I did mention this last week as well. I said, right, whilst on your different teams on this platform, I said, take a pen and a notepad. There are things that would be happening within your different teams right now that you probably look at and say, oh, okay, yeah, it may be impediments. Scrum Masters, for example, you're supporting your team to remove impediments, but you're not even realizing that that's what you're doing sometimes. It might be something very small that you're supporting them with, but you don't realize that's what you're doing. And some of these things, when you're not conscious about it, when you get to interviews and they ask you questions around how, walk us through a time when you've supported your team or when you've helped your team members to remove impediments, we just go blank and we're thinking, have I done it before? My God, how did I remove impediments? How do you? And then you start thinking, forgetting that within the 3 months you had on this platform, you have actually supported your team members to remove impediments multiple times. Do you get what I mean? There are times when on your different teams right now, there will be conflicts. How do you resolve those conflicts whilst on this platform within your teams? How did you go about resolving the conflicts? Do you get what I mean? Now, I mentioned, I said, have a notepad and a pen. And when these things happen, start being observant. From last week, I said, start observing these things when they're happening. Start being a bit more conscious and start to look at things when they happen. That's a conflict that I just resolved. Oh, that is a conflict that is brewing. How do I resolve it? What steps do I take? Okay, I need to take this step. I need to take that step. Take those steps and note them down. So that when you get a question around how you resolved conflict within your team, then you have a story to tell. Because there's no way you will spend 3 months on this platform during your internships. Trust me, there is absolutely no way that you'll spend 3 months and you would not have a story to tell. Either a competency-based story, a behavioral-based story, situational-based story. There is no way if you're being observant of those situations. And even though we say that Scrum Masters resolve conflicts, there is nothing to say that a BA should not be able to resolve conflict with another BA, even before it gets to the Scrum Master. There's nothing to say that QA cannot resolve a conflict with a BA or even with a Scrum Master before it gets escalated. Because team members, it's not only between ourselves that we have conflicts. Sometimes you might have a conflict with your Scrum Master, and then the Scrum Master needs to resolve that conflict. What if the Scrum Master is not able to resolve that conflict because that Scrum Master finds themselves already in the midst of that conflict? So it applies to everyone. And these questions, like I said, we have BAs that are being asked Scrum Master-based interview questions. We have Scrum Masters that are being asked QA questions. So we need to be prepared, guys. We need to be prepared. We cannot let this 3 months go. And don't wait till the end of 3 months. We have people that have started attending interviews. I'm not going to mention names, of course. But we have people that have actually, on this set of your internship, they've started getting calls for interviews and they've started going for their interviews, for first stage interviews. So nothing stops you from holding back from preparing. Let's not wait till that time. So you're right, Mohammed. Please, guys, let's start noting down those situations. Because there will be a time when we have this sort of session here on a Thursday, and we're just going to be asking interview-based questions. We're not going to be we're not going to be doing all of this. We're just going to come on, and it's going to be an interview prep session where we will ask interview questions, from each other, and we'll be expecting everyone to make it interactive and respond to those questions. And at that point, we would obviously expect you to have situations that you would come and use to respond to interview-based questions using the STAR technique, of course. So thanks for that, Mohammed. Does anyone else want to talk about their findings? Did anyone else do any research? Is there anything you want to add to what Mohammed has just said? Okay.
Thank you, Tolu, for what you've said. My name is Albert.
Hi, Albert.
I think it's for me. I'll say that I've gone through the STAR technique, and I think the major challenge would be trying to when I did my CV and then as a Scrum Master, it's now putting that and then you 3 months experience, and this is like the official start of like the Scrum Master. Yes, I've done a bit of things in other fields and other sectors. Coming from a healthcare background, so sometimes it's almost trying to create that balance of your CV and not, of course, trying to be honest and with people you're sending your CV to, and even trying to even get to the door, getting an interview, and then updating your CV to ensure that it reflects that. So. And then you see maybe 1 year experience, 2 years experience, and then all of a sudden, officially, you've got a Scrum Mastering experience of even less than 3 months when I started the internship. So how does one balance that? Kind of, you want to send your CV out, and you even have less than 3 months experience. You're looking for a Scrum Mastering role, and you don't want to start lying to employers. Everything, your CV should be an honest reflection of who you are.
Yeah.
Does one do that? Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Albert. And that is actually a common question that we get asked quite often on the platform as well. So two things I would say to that, Albert. The first one I would say is, I don't know how far you've gone with regards to CV reviews. I think Deji actually owns that session where it goes through CV reviews with you. So I don't know how far you've gone with that session.
I actually, even the last CV review session, I sent a message because I expected to see my CV in his book. I sent in my CV, but when he went through it, he said my CV wasn't found, so that we're going to look at. So I don't know whether, and I don't want to, I know he gets so many emails. Maybe I should forward my CV again.
Did you? I would have.
That was what happened the last time.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you resent it. after that session, because I know he's probably going to have another session. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping I'm saying he might have another session. So I would say,
Well, okay, well, go on, sorry.
Send it again and speak to Olawumi. Let Olawumi
Okay.
advise on that side of things, on where to send it to, when to send it, when the next session would be. Yeah. So speak to Olawumi
Okay.
about that. That's the first thing I would say. The
Okay.
second thing that I would say, Albert, is, and I will use myself as an example. There are some times when we come from other sectors into the IT space, and we don't see this thing that we're doing now. We need to be completely alert, 100% alert to what we're doing, because there are some sectors that you're coming from that some of the things that you're doing are transferable skills, are things that can actually work in your favor, even when you're putting your CV together. And I will explain. I'm glad you said the health sector. Before I got into the IT space, the IT world, I was working within the health sector as well. So I worked as a mental health, I was working within the mental health sector. And when I started my training and internship, and when I was putting my CV together, of course, I didn't put all the years of experience within the health sector. So I didn't put, I worked at NHS, I worked with, look ahead, I worked with this one, I worked with that one, because otherwise my CV would be like maybe 20 pages. Do you get what I mean? But of course,
yes, I do.
My last role within the health sector was on my CV. And I didn't want to put it on my CV and let it not make sense and let it not add value. Because of course, then I had my Scrum Master experience from Blue Sky on my CV as well. But I wanted to make sure that what I was putting before the Blue Sky experience also made sense and also had value from me coming from where I'm coming into the IT space. Yeah. And maybe, of course, I don't know what your role is and all of that, but maybe because I was coming from a senior role, like a team lead role, I had skills on my CV within that role that I was able to put things like, when you find yourself in a role whereby you're actually running a workshop or you're leading on a meeting. As a Scrum Master, if I'm putting that on my CV within, for my health sector role, I will put I facilitated workshops as a team lead. Do you get what I mean? Things like that. Reports. Yes. Yeah. When I'm putting together reports, because of course I'm working with clients. So this is me working with people, and which is what we do as Scrum Masters as well. So I'm not sure what your role is, but it doesn't matter.
I'm an SM as well. I'm in the SM group.
Yeah. So I work with people. I liaise with stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, who are these stakeholders? Health professionals. They're stakeholders. Do you get what I mean? So I reward my responsibilities to make sure that those responsibilities that I'm rewarding in my CV are actually buzzwords that fit into the Scrum world. Do you get what I mean? So I did that for that role.
Okay.
So if you're looking at my CV and you're scanning my CV for facilitating skills or facilitation skill, whatever, you would find quite a few of them there, because even within my role within the health sector, I used it. I used workshops. I used stakeholder management, stakeholder engagement, things like that, reporting. I use things like that. Yeah. So I hope that helps. But again, liaise with me with regards CV review, and she would let you know when the next one would be, and to send your CV ahead of time for that.
Let me, if I can go out on a limb here, would it be okay if I send mine to you as well, please? If I send it to you to take a look.
I would say speak to admin first. Let's not.
Okay, I will speak with admin then. Okay,
yeah?
I'll speak with admin.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. This has really been helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome, Albert. You're very welcome. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
Only, for example, someone asked me this question as well. Let's just say you've got someone on the course here, for myself, for example, that they have been self-employed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's something they could put on their CV that could help with Scrum Master?
So it depends on what that self-employment is.
Car
Yeah.
trading,
Sorry?
car trading, for example, for
Car-
myself.
Car trading.
Yeah, buying and selling cars basically.
Okay, all right. So again, it depends, because whatever you want to put on your CV, you want to make sure that it adds value. Yeah. So if your Scrum Master experience on your CV is probably maybe 1 year, for example, I'm just saying it's maybe 1 year, and your previous role was as you know, self-employed person, that was what you did as a previous role, and you want to put that on there, you would need to word your responsibilities to favor you. Do you get what I mean? Because of course, for you to even have a business of your own, for you to be able to run your business and deal with different type of people's effective and run an effective business, you probably must be a people's person, a good leader, yeah, for you to run a successful business. So it depends on how you word these things on your CV. But the important thing that which, like I was saying to, I think it was last week, I'm not sure who I was telling, I'm not sure if it was yourself and Victoria, that applying for a job and going for an interview, it's a job on its own. It's a job on its own. So when you're putting your CV together, you need to just create time for it. Focus, create time for it, and make sure it's well put together. It's reviewed. Once it's reviewed, they will give you feedbacks. Implement those feedbacks. Work on those feedbacks, and then make sure that you have it reviewed again to make sure that it's ready for you to put out. Once it's ready for you to put out, you want to put your best foot forward. Yeah, you want those buzzwords in there. And during that CV review, it would be able to advise you on, okay, do you want to put the self-employment in there? What's your role as a CEO or whatever you want to put your role in as, car trading and all of that? How do you want to word your responsibilities as the business owner? Because then, for you to, like I said, for you to own a business, if you word your responsibilities and your roles, if you word it properly, it might actually turn out in your favor as well. I gave an example before, and I said, I've actually been part of a panel at work that interviewed a lady, and she had 0 Scrum Master experience. In fact, she was working at a charity shop when she applied.
Okay.
She was working in a charity shop, and guess what? She actually put her current role as a charity shop, whatever, something assistant, and she put the name of the charity shop there, and she put her responsibilities there on the CV. 0 Scrum Master experience. There was no Scrum Master experience on the CV at all. But how did she get through to the first stage? I honestly don't know how she got through, but I know that I was asked to be part of the panel for that first stage, right? And when I looked at the CV, the first thing I thought to myself was, I asked the question, I was like, what's this person applying for? And I was told Scrum Master. I was like, Scrum Master, okay. 0 experience on the CV. But when I went through the skills that she had, that she put on the CV, I was like, okay, all right, that's no problem. Okay, I see why she's applying. And then aside from the skills that she's put on, when she put on her CV, she put tools that she's familiar with. And I was seeing Jira. And I was seeing Jira on there. And I was thinking to myself, I was seeing burn down charts. And I was thinking to myself, what do you do with this in a charity shop? Like, seriously. So I was really keen to speak to this person, right? During the interview, myself and my line manager took the interview with her. And during the interview, I asked, the moment she started to introduce herself, and Scrum Masters, this was one thing that I mentioned as well. I just put a message on today. Tell me about yourself. That question, please, let us not joke with that question. Tell me about yourself, or walk us through your experience as a Scrum Master. Walk us through your experience as a business analyst. Walk us through your experience as a software tester. Let's not joke. Let's not play around with that question, because even the best of best sometimes gets nervous when they're asked that question. If you ask me to answer that question now, I'll probably take a sip of water and then I'll calm myself down and prep myself to respond to it. Because when you get asked that question, first question in your interview, you want to create a good impression, even with your response. Now, if your nervousness, I'll come back to the story I was talking about. Even interviewers know that people get nervous during interviews, but how do you manage your nervousness? How do you come back from it? So even with the first question, tell us about yourself or walk us through your experience within your role. Even if they notice some sort of nervousness, how do you come back from it going into the other questions? Because even if you lose track a bit with that question and you sort of lose them and they're like, by the time they ask the second question, the third question, and you've pulled yourself back and you respond well to the other questions, then they would probably be like, oh, well, not too bad. She actually did quite well, responded to the questions really well. I was impressed. The first question, a bit of wobble here and there, but it could be nerves, but a bit more confident going into the rest of the questions. They discuss, they talk about these things once you've turned off your camera and you've left the meeting. Sometimes they stay on and they have their own chat and they make a decision on the spot there. Should we put this person through to the second stage? So we had that chat with her on the call. And from the very moment she started to tell us about herself, you would hear and you would see the zeal, you would see that she was interested in that role, right? And I asked her the question and I asked, and this was not even part of the questions we had noted down to ask, but because as a Scrum Master, I just wanted to know, like, what do you do with Jira and burn down chats in charity shop? I just wanted to know. And I asked her, what's your experience with Jira? Because I can see on your CV, you have Jira, she had Trello, she had Jira, she had Velocity Chat, burn down chat. I was asking her, what's your experience with these tools and these metrics? Because I can see you have them on your CV, right? And she said, to be honest, what she did was she went online, she really has interest because she has a friend that works as a Scrum Master and she really has an interest in it. And the way that her friend, sometimes she goes to visit her friend, she sees her friends facilitating meetings and all of that, and she took an interest in it. And she thought this is something that she really wants to do and she can really excel at. So she started to do self-development. Now that is someone that did self-development, not to talk of you guys on the call that are here for 3 months, theoretical, and I would say 90% practical. And during her self-development, she went through Jira, she created her own free Jira board, she learned the Jira, how to use Jira, and also Trello, and then what the burn down chat was for, and she watched videos here and there. Maybe Blue Sky Citadel videos was even one of the ones she watched. I wouldn't be surprised because we're out there. Do you get what I mean? But she did all of that. And what she then did was, anytime she's going to work, she created her own epics on Jira. She creates her own stories on Jira. What time she wakes up in the morning, what time she needs to get in the bathroom, what time she needs to leave the house, what time she needs to do this. And she moves the tickets. And she uses that to go through our metrics, our burn down chat, to read it and learn how to read it. And she said, even at work at a charity shop, she started to use Jira. She introduced Jira and she started to use Jira. What they need to do today, what they need to accomplish today, have they accomplished it? What needs to be done this week, have they done it? And she would use that at work. And she said the interest is what drove her to do all of that. And she was so, you would hear it and see it in her that she really, really has interest in doing this thing. And because of the level of work that she had personally started to put into it, she was able to talk about Velocity Chat. She was able to talk about burn down chat. She was able to talk about Jira. She even wanted to share her screen and show us her Jira board, her personal Jira board. We were like, oh, no, that's fine, not to worry. I'm convinced. And then after the call, after she left the call, I stayed on with my line manager, and my line manager said, Tolu, what do you think? I said, well, she's got 0 experience as a Scrum Master, but I can see that she's somebody that is willing to learn, and she's somebody that will definitely catch up really quick if we want to put that through based on that. But if we're looking for someone to hit the ground running and has experience, I would probably say, maybe not her. But if we're looking for someone that is ready, because sometimes organization looks for that, someone that we can bring on board, ready to learn, ready to do the work, why not? And my line manager said, I'm going to put that through to the second stage of interview. And she got through. Yeah, and she got through. Sometimes the grace that works, let's not even go into that. But all I need to say to you is that you might go for an interview with someone with 8-10 years experience, and you might just have 2 years experience, and you might still get the job, especially with startup companies, and you might get the job. 1, what's on your CV? 2, when you get those calls for interviews, how confident, how do you perform in those interviews? Really key. And what determines how you perform in your interview? Your preparation. How prepared are you going into those interviews? Right? So Mohammed, again, during CV review, please make sure that you have your CV ready, use the right terminologies, look for things like, people don't put on your CV, my part of my responsibilities is I run workshops. No, don't use that. I facilitate workshops. Use those terminologies. Look at those roles, those responsibilities. Look at where you can change the terminology to suit your role. Do you get what I mean? And then let's take it on from there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
If we have any mentors on the call, please, that wants to add to what we're talking about, please feel free to raise your hands and feel free to add as well and contribute to the topic. But okay. Does anyone else have any question you want to ask? Anyone else?
I've got a question, Tolly, that a lot of people have been asking. And when you were just talking about the story now of creating the lady who created her own Jira board, I've personally done my own one from like this weekend that I just went past. I created my own one, been playing around with it, getting the hang of it. But I just wanted to ask this question on behalf of me and other people. They're probably too shy to ask, or I want to relate it back to some other Scrum Masters. You asked Tolu, what's some things that you would say before this course ends on September the 10th? And that's my birthday, by the way, just saying. It's the things it's the things that we need, at least 5 solid things that we need. I've got a few in my mind, which are Jira, Azure DevOps, understanding what a Scrum Master is inside out, understanding the Agile framework, and just working as a team. Like when I say as a team, I just mean understanding that you're the Scrum Master, you're going to work with developers. So for example, yesterday I found out that, because when I used to hate developers, I used to think developers are their own people, then BAs are BAs, then QAs are QAs. But in Scrum, the QA, the BA, they're all developers. Do you get what I mean? So when I understood that yesterday in the Scrum mode, I was like, okay, so that's developers. So when I do practice the what am I looking for? The certification, those sort of questions used to trick me. So when I learned that yesterday, it's like, okay, cool. So the QA can be a developer, the BA could be a developer. But yeah, so not to go from the point, what's like the things that you would need in the workplace that if you've been coming blue sky from the beginning now and you've been lacking, we've got a month left and about 7 days, a month and a week. What's the main things that you should take from this for you to be job ready?
Okay.
That's a tough question for you. Sorry, Tolly.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You've mentioned some of them already, Mohammed. I would say that
let me just write them down.
For you to be ready, living before the end of your internship.
Yeah.
I would say, and aside from being a Scrum Master, I mean, and this also applies to everyone else. Identify the different areas that you feel like there are gaps right now. You mentioned your role, your responsibilities as a Scrum Master. Everyone on this platform, by the time your internship ends, either as a Scrum Master, a BA, a DA, PM, whatever your roles are, you should be able to understand what is expected of you within your different roles. 1 second, bear with me. You need to understand at least, if not the basics, understand enough of what is expected of you within your roles. Because let's not even talk about getting the roles now. Having that understanding is what would help you, propel you towards getting those roles, even in interviews.
Mhm.
Having that understanding, that is key. You cannot go into an interview not even having basic knowledge, let's even say basic knowledge of what is expected of you within your role as a BA, as a TA, as an SM, as a QA, as a developer. Because then you get on the job and you don't have clear understanding of basic expectations. Scrum Masters, I always say this, your role is not only about facilitating Scrum ceremonies, it is way past that.
Mhm.
It is not just about facilitating Scrum ceremonies. But even when we talk about facilitating Scrum ceremonies, and BAs, DAs, please, if you have questions, please feel free to ask as well. This is not the platform to be shy. We're not even asking you to turn on camera. And I don't know, the only person I think I know here, and I know her facially, is Mumi. And maybe if Deji is on the call. Aside from that, for everyone else on this call, aside from the mentors, I don't know what you guys look like. And you don't have cameras on. So please do not be shy.
I've
Right?
been told that I look handsome, Tolly, just saying that.
Well, from your voice, I'm sure you do, Mohammed. I'm sure you do.
Thank you.
So please, guys, if right now you still have that gap in knowledge of what am I supposed to do as a PA? Is it just to write stories and acceptance criteria? Is that the only thing I need to do as a PA? If that is the only thing you feel like as a PA you should know, then there's a gap that you need to fill. And that gap is what your mentors are here for. If you're not asking your mentors these questions that Mohammed is asking, you're not doing yourself any favor at all. Trust me. We've been through this journey. I've been through this journey as well. I've been a student on this platform. I've gone through internship on this platform. So I'm talking from a place of, how would I put it now? Of knowing what you guys are going through right now. Yeah? So have clear understanding, first thing first. Just understand, what are my responsibilities as a BA, as a GA, as a Scrum Master? Scrum Masters, you're facilitating Scrum ceremonies. Are you facilitating productive Scrum ceremonies? Or are you just asking, I know a Scrum Master that got a role, and she came and she was asking me, I think about 2 weeks or thereabout into the role, and say, my land manager called me, and my land manager was telling me that, why do I only ask the questions during daily stand-up? And I don't see anything else. I just ask, okay, what did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? Any impediments? Once they say, okay, I did this yesterday, I'm doing this today, no impediments, you know, I move on, you move on, you move on, you move on, you know. Because sometimes, even, I know daily stand-up is time boxed, right, to 15 minutes. But there are times when there are some questions that you need to ask. So if I notice as a Scrum Master, for example, there's a ticket on the board, there's a task on the board, on the sprint board, that has been there for the past 5 days. And a QA or developer is saying, oh, okay, I'm still working on this. And that ticket is probably estimated as maybe 2 story points or 3 story points. And you're saying to me, I worked on this yesterday, I'm going to continue working on it today. Okay, tomorrow you say the same thing. The 3rd day, the 4th day, by the end of the week, you're still telling me you're still working on that task and it says 2 story points. Of course, I'm going to be asking a question. I'm going to be asking you a question, either on the call if I have time, or after the call, I'll catch up with you, say, oh, so Marvelous, I know this is like a 2-point story, ticket, and we've been on it for about a couple of days now. Is there anything holding us back from progressing with it? Or because sometimes it might be some external or internal interferences. There might be people within the organization or outside of the organization asking Marvelous to do other things for them, and it's stopping Marvelous and taking away some focus from what Marvelous should be doing. So it's not necessary that Marvelous is not doing her work, or he or she doesn't want to do their work. It might just be these other things, and it does happen. So there might just be a few, or actually, yeah, it's taking a bit of time for me. It's not really a complex ticket, but it's taking a bit of time for me because I had to help the BAU team to resolve an incident that or whatever. Oh, okay, all right, that's fine, marvelous. Let's catch up after the call just to understand, the level of effort required from you with what you're helping the BAU team with, and then you move on to the next person. So there are things that. So do you get what I mean? So it's not just about facilitating those ceremonies. You need to listen for certain things and ask certain questions. If those questions would now get you responses that you feel is, okay, this is a long thing, this one will drag our meeting today, just say, okay, that's fine, that's not a problem. I just wanted to get a bit of clarity on what's going on with that. But of course, Albert, let's catch up after the call and let me just have a bit more understanding of what's going on there. Then you move on to the next person. If there's need for those questions, we don't need to ask questions when there's no need for it. So that brings me back to, are we facilitating ceremonies just because we have to facilitate them and end the call? Or are we facilitating productive ceremonies? So we need to have clear understanding, coming back to your question, of what our roles are, what our responsibilities are, what are the expectations from us within our roles. Because you would need those in your interview to respond to quite a couple of questions. Right? So that's one. The second one is, I would say, readiness. Readiness. Yeah, of course, yeah. Thanks for that, Olawumi. Readiness. How ready are you? So it's one thing for you to understand what your responsibilities are, but how ready are you to take on those responsibilities? How ready are you to take them on? And you can only be ready for those responsibilities if you start to prepare for them. Put yourself, don't just think of this as, okay, some team members are not, maybe you have 10 members of developers on your team now, and I'm including QAs and developers, by the way, and only 2 people turn up for daily stand-up. As a Scrum Master, if that happens 2-3 times, what are you doing about it? Consistency, like admin has put in there as well. Consistency. Even after the internship ends, don't stop learning. I can say to you now, and I always say it, I still learn as well. I still learn in terms of the IT world keeps evolving. You cannot be stagnant with it. You have to be on your toes. You have to keep learning. And I always say that I go to bed quite late. And the reason is, no matter what I do, before I go to bed, I always go online and I'm always looking for, what's that? Well, is there any new things? Is there anything that I need to refresh my memory on or refresh myself on? Or what's there that, what have I not, what's there that is new that I need to learn? It might even be a video that I've watched before. I'll watch it again. Maybe whilst I was watching it, I went to the bathroom or to the kitchen and I missed something. So let me watch it again. Sometimes things come into my head, maybe from work, maybe somebody said something at work and I don't quite understand what they mean. I'll quickly write it down so that before I go to bed in my own quiet time, I'm going online and I'm searching for that thing. What does this thing mean? So I still do personal learning as well. You should not stop learning. Keep checking out for interview questions and answers. Relate them to the experience you have within your team, like we mentioned earlier. So consistency. And Scrum Masters, again, when we're talking about your responsibilities, reporting, update, giving reports. How do you report? How do you do presentations? How do you, as a Scrum Master, your metrics, what are the different metrics? You need to have good understanding of your metrics, what they look like. What are your metrics saying? BAs, even Scrum Masters, you don't think it's only BAs that deal with stakeholders. You would deal with stakeholders. Yeah, you will deal with stakeholders. Right? So I think those are some of the things, aside from what you already have noted down, Mohammed.
Thank you.
I think those are some of the other things that I will touch on. Continuous learning, be prepared, be ready. And what was the first thing that I said? know your responsibilities, those, what your expectations within your roles.
Yeah, and identifying different areas, you said.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was your team that I said this to, Mohammed, at the start of the internship, when I said, have an Excel spreadsheet. On the Excel spreadsheet, have 2 tabs. The first tab, what do I already know? What do I have clear understanding of? Okay, Jira. I've got good understanding of Jira now. Confluence, yeah, I've got good. Azure DevOps, yeah, I'm good. Burn down chart, velocity chart. Then the second tab have gaps where where you need to improve on, and list those things. Confidence, facilitation skills, this skills, or this one or that one. Now you've identified what you know and what you still need to know or improve on. Now, you need to then, I always say to people, every week, don't let a week go without learning something new. At the end of the week, ask yourself, I do that with my daughter as well. I will call my daughter at the end of the week. What is that new thing you learned this week? You must have learned something new this week. If not, there's a problem. We have a problem. Yeah. So try and challenge yourself. So once you identify what the gap is or where you need areas of improvement, you've identified that on the second sheet on that spreadsheet. Then work towards, okay, I need to understand more of burn down charts, how to read burn down charts and all of that. My metrics, I need more understanding on metrics. Now focus on that. Give yourself maybe a day or 2 days. Speak to your mentors, do your own research, do your own learnings as well. And then once you now have that clear understanding of your metrics, how to read your metrics and all of that, once you have that clear understanding of that, you've done your own work on that, you're good with it, you're fine with it, move that metrics, move it to the first sheet, into that space where you have what you now know. Because that way, by the end of your internship, the second sheet on that spreadsheet should be empty. Everything you've put on that second sheet to say that what you need to improve on or what you need to still learn, by the end of your internship, everything on there should have moved to the first spreadsheet, to the first sheet, if you get what I mean. There shouldn't be anything left on there. You should have challenged yourself. You should have done your self-learning. You should have at least used your mentors to make sure that you get that spreadsheet empty, that sheet empty on your spreadsheet, and everything has been moved to sheet 1. Everything on sheet 2 now is gone. But again, like I said, there will be new things. I still have my own spreadsheet where I would note, okay, I saw this thing today. I need to get more knowledge on it. And it's not only within the Scrum Master side of things, even QAs. When I hear them say something new, I'll go and write it down on my spreadsheet. Okay, what is this one? TDD, BDD, what's all this about? I'll learn it. Then I'll move it over to sheet 1. Okay, now I know what TDD is. I know what BDD is. Okay, what's new? That's the tactic that I use. I don't know if it will be helpful for anyone else, but that's something that I do. And that's something that I always say to people to try and do as well, because then that would help you too. And I think that's something that your skill matrix also would help you to do. The skill matrix that you prepared for, the Scrum Masters prepared for your team members. I think that's something that would help you to do as well. Albert, you have your hands up. Thanks,
Yes,
Mohammed.
You're welcome, no problem.
Thank you for what you said. Quick one.
You're welcome, Albert.
The burn down chart, velocity matrix, are those technical skills? Because like when we're learning our CV, yes. For instance, my own CV under in technical skills, I put Azure DevOps, Miro, Jira. So now you made mention of burn down charts, velocity. Are we supposed to like include those as soft skills or part of like the development lifecycle tools that we have? That's what I would like to be clear on. Do we put those as separate skills that we now have, or like part of like using your Azure DevOps?
Your metrics can fall under your technical skills. They can sit well under your technical skills.
Okay, so it won't be bad to say, okay, I know how to do burn down charts instead of just putting Azure DevOps, Jira. So we can also put burn down charts and stuff like that. That's
under your technical skills. Okay, so your Jira, your Azure DevOps, are those skills? Are those technical skills? What are those?
Though they are like they are development applications, system development lifecycle tools. So when we're doing
Tools.
our
Did you just say tools?
yes,
Okay, all right, carry on.
yeah. So because when we're doing our CV prep with Deji,
Yeah.
that was part of the things he puts under the technical.
Yeah.
So and those were parts of yes. So I'm just now saying that now you mentioned because I think it's to build up your skills
Yeah.
and okay, I know this, I know this. So I'm saying that yes,
Okay.
including yes, I put Azure DevOps, I put
Mhm.
Jira, but
Yeah.
now put okay, burn down chart, the matrix and burn up
Yeah.
charts and everything as part of skills. That's why I'm just asking, or
So,
just the fact that I wrote Azure
yeah.
DevOps,
Mhm.
Jira, which we find them in both applications,
Yeah.
and should that
So,
be okay? I could include those.
so those would, even though they are tools that you work with, your Jira, your Azure DevOps, they will sit well under your technical skills. Your metrics, your burn down chart, your velocity chart will sit down well under your technical skills, right? Because your Jira, your Azure DevOps, they are tools, they are technical tools that you use, and you should have that skill to know how to use it, which is why we've taught you that. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So they will
Yes.
sit well under your technical skills. Now, when you put your roles on your CV that, okay, I'm a QA with Blue Sky Citadel, for example, then you put your responsibilities, and after the responsibilities, you can now put the tools that you use. Then you can also then put your Jira or your Azure DevOps or whatever. I don't know what your CV looks like, but just to summarize and to answer your question, your Jira, your Azure DevOps, your
MS Teams.
yes. So all of that, yeah, all of that, your Microsoft Office tools, which is your PowerPoint, your Excel, your Word, whatever you want to put there, they will sit well under your technical skills.
Okay.
Yeah, for the BAs, acceptance criteria, wireframes, what's it called now? Your estimation techniques, your capacity planning, all of this will sit well under your skills, your technical skills. Yeah? Does that help, Albert?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Does anyone else have any question?
Tolly, you just said something about you and Albert with PowerPoint. Yeah. In my team, we've been using Google Sheets a lot. In the workplace, is Google Sheets right, or is your more professional to use PowerPoint?
It depends on what is being organized. All organizations with different tools and stuff that they use. So it depends on what is preferred within the organization or what is preferred within your team. You might join the team now, and you might have different teams using different whatever, and you might feel like, okay, this might work better for us and all of that. You can introduce it, but it doesn't mean they will accept it, because remember that you don't want to join a team and just implement change like that immediately when you join them. Yeah. If it's not broken, we don't want to fix it, because otherwise then you start to, early on as you join the team, stepping on people's toes and all of that. But again, just to answer that question anyway, it's, whatever, different organization with different stuff that they use.
So the best thing for you for anyone would be if you, for example,
everything as much as you can learn.
Basically, took the words out of my mouth.
As much as you can learn. But I would say that for everyone on this platform, I don't know if we've had the Microsoft if the Excel training, but I would say that if that training has been done and you were not part of it, I would say watch the video. For everyone on this platform, irrespective of your role, Excel is something that you should know how to use properly, irrespective of your role. Right? I have a colleague at work that was saying today, because we had kind of like aside from Scrum of Scrum, we also do have like a Scrum Masters monthly session where each Scrum Master has a topic that we have to come and coach other Scrum Masters on. And the guy was saying today that one of the stakeholders actually reached out to him and said, oh, can I have a look at your Jira board and see what stories you're committing to the next sprint and all of that? But can you export it, those stories on an Excel sheet for me to have a look at, to see the product owner, to see what's been prioritized? Because he didn't have time to go on the Jira board and just wanted an Excel sheet sent to him ASAP. So he had to now export those stories. He told the guy, was like, okay, so you actually just want to give me double work to do it because you don't want to go on the Jira board. Okay, that's fine. I'll give you a few minutes of my time and I'll do that for you. They laughed over it and all of that. So Excel, please, if you weren't part of that session, if we've had that session, watch the video. Excel is something that we should all know how to use. Yeah? Okay, all right. Please, guys, I want us to take these sessions very seriously. Not for my own whatever, but it's what we're here to do to support you and to point you in the right direction. And that's the best that we can do. Do you get what I mean? But please do take the session seriously. What I would do, I think we had till 9 o'clock. So what I would do very quickly is, I'm not sure if the person that actually asked the question last time about STAR technique is on the call today, but what I would quickly just do is, I know it's been recorded, so I would run through. I know I did mention a couple of example of interview questions that you would need your STAR technique to respond to. But very quickly, as Mohammed said, the STAR technique, it's just a structured manner of responding to behavioral-based interview questions. You would be expected to talk about the specific situation, which is describe the situation that you were in or the task that you needed to accomplish, right? That's the S in it, the situation. What was the situation, right? And then you have the T, and that's the task. Now your task is, we already have a situation on ground. What task, what goal do I want to achieve? What goal am I working towards with this situation on ground, right? And then you have your A, which is the action. Once you've identified the goal that you're working towards, that you need to, that you need to work towards, the action now is, what action did you now take to address that situation? What specific steps did you take? What was your particular contribution towards addressing that situation? What did you actually do? Describe it, talk about it. Then the R is the result. What was the outcome of the action that you took? What happened? How did that event end? How did that situation get resolved? What did you accomplish? And very important, what did you learn from it? That's your STAR technique. That's your STAR. Yeah? Let's bear in mind, a lot of people, and I don't know, Wumi, do I have 5 minutes? Can I still have 5 minutes, please, to round up?
We'll find you, but just go ahead. 5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so that's your STAR, STAR, right? Now, some people would use the STAR technique and you feel like it always has to end on a positive note. That's fine. But if your STAR technique, right? If your STAR technique, at the end of your day, the results that you have was not really favorable, it's okay for you to talk about it, because then what that would show is, it would highlight your strength in the face of adversity. It would highlight your strength in the face of adversity. And then you will now talk about the lessons learned. Right? Now, that is your STAR technique, your situation, your task, your action, and your result. I will run through very quickly, very quickly in the few minutes I have left, maybe in a minute or two. I'll run through quickly some behavioral questions that you might get in interviews that would help you to understand that, I need to respond to this using a STAR technique, and start writing your situations down now from this platform within your teams. You might be asked, describe a situation in which you were able to use persuasion to successfully convince someone to see things your way? And that question might come with your line manager. They might say, describe a time when you had to convince a stakeholder or convince your line manager to see things your own way, to persuade them to see things your own way. Describe a time when you were faced with a stressful situation and demonstrate your coping skills. Yeah, an example, give us an example when you used good judgment and logic in solving the problem-solving skills. Give us an example of a time when you set a goal and you were able to meet or achieve that goal, or you were not able to meet and achieve the goal. Strengths and weaknesses. Tell us about a time when you had to use your presentation skills to influence someone else's opinion. Different questions that can come in this format. There is one that I actually like. What is your typical way of dealing with conflict? And give us an example. Scrum Masters, even for everyone else, conflict resolution skills. Give us an example of a time when you had to make a split-second decision. A split-second decision, because it happens. Right? It happens. So these are some of the things. You can get a question to say, give us an example of a time when something you tried to accomplish failed. How did you deal with it? Give us an example of a time when you showed initiative and took the lead. So there are different questions that you can be asked. And these are questions that requires us to respond to them using the STAR technique. Talk about the situation, talk about the task, the goal that you wanted to achieve from that situation, taking that situation on, the action that you took to achieve that goal, and the results. These are the sort of questions. So when you see questions like that, or you hear questions like that, note that you need to respond using the STAR technique. Any question? I don't like talking without being asked questions, so I like being challenged. But if there are no other questions, I'm happy to end the call here. So back to you, Wumi. Thank you, everyone. And please let's go back and listen to the recording. Let's do our learning. Let's do our revision. Let's start taking notes from every situation that we observe within our teams and how we deal with those situations. Because trust me, it is not a maybe. It is a definite that you will come across these situational-based questions, behavioral-based questions, competency-based questions. You will come across them in interviews. You cannot escape them. It is not a maybe. So please, if I can do it, Wumi can do it, a lot of people have done it on the past, and we all did it and achieved it via this platform. Trust me, there is nothing that stops you from achieving the same. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Wumi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
So, all what you have said, please, guys, please let's not take it with levity. All the things are very, very important. And for our own personal progress, for now, like for example, today that you are very psyched up, please don't slack and start working towards achieving all what she has mentioned. And one thing I wanted to say is usually when people are giving their own testimonies by the time they get jobs, there's a common factor I always notice in everything. And that common factor is like they say, oh, all what we were told to do was what I did to achieve this success. So you might think some of these things are, oh, you're going too far or something. Please try and do them. There's something they used to say, it's a proverb, but I don't know how to say it very well in English. But in Yoruba, it's she boshin she kole reporting. So in English, is do it as you're told to do, so it can yield that positive outcome you're trying to yield. So really, it will be my own give back for today. All what she has said you should do, please just go back, try and work on them. Like the skills metrics she mentioned, list all the things you think you need to improve on and start working towards being a guru in everything. So just take your time, and all the examples that she has given, you see all these things has happened to you already, but you will not know until you are being questioned. So for example, they can tell you in an interview that, how did you handle a difficult PO? Is there any one of you that has not had any 1 or 2 PO issues or something? You would have, or any difficult team member, or team members that don't see reasons to come to a meeting. You have to coin those things to fit into what you have experienced in Blue Sky. So please take these things, don't take it with levity. Check your CVs and relate it to your present roles. They are all very doable. If you have questions on that, you can ask your mentors, you can ask your buddies. They will guide you as to how to do these things. I was also in finance when I jumped in here. So the same example she gave is exactly how we went about it, making sure you measure up and all that. So thank you so much once again, Tolu. We always appreciate this session. Thank you for giving us this wealth of knowledge this evening, and we appreciate that. So thanks, everyone. We're going into the next session. Please, Scrum Masters, APMs, ADMs, please wait behind. Every other person, thank you for tonight. Thank you for joining in.